Hi, I'm Mark Tilley, and I can't even say welcome back to any video series because we've never ridden a bike like this. We don't know how to classify it. We don't know where it goes. It is electric, that we know. There's a lot of hype behind the Stark Varg. We were supposed to go to Spain about a year and a half ago to ride this bike, but I got sick right before I was supposed to fly out and I couldn't go. We've had all kinds of different people ride this motorcycle, from a bunch of different media outlets to racers. I mean, we even saw Ken Roxon on it. Today we get our first chance to ride it. I'm excited. I've been able to ride a lot of electric bikes throughout the years. Some good, some not so good. So I'm excited to ride this motorcycle. Do I think that this is going to get rid of all gas-powered motorcycles? No. You need gas to run this motorcycle as well, just like you do for your 450 or your 250 or your 250 125 two-strokes. This has to have a generator. It's got to have some kind of stuff at the track to where you can replenish that battery. So if you're looking at it going, oh, that's a green motorcycle, it's still got to have some gas to go. Like I said, there's a lot of technical details to this and a lot of cool information that Justin from Stark Varg is going to go over with you. I'm going to go get ready and we're going to ride this thing.
How's it going, everyone? I am Justin Bellerose with Stark Future, and I'm going to run over some of our options that separates us from everyone else on the Stark Varg. So, some really cool features. One, you have 5 maps that you can preset, and it'll essentially give you 5 different bikes. Map 1 through 5 here, you can slide your horsepower from 10 all the way up to 80, and then on this side we have regenerative braking, also referred to as engine braking. You can go 0%, which is less than a two-stroke, and all the way up to 100%, which is going to be more than your modern 450. So you'll save it once you're in the horsepower that you want. You can go through and do this with 5 different maps. Once you're done, you put the bike into gear, and now you have all 5 of those maps at the touch of your fingertip. You can do this under power, under braking, in the air, doesn't matter. A couple other really cool features of our bike. We offer the factory style split triple clamps up front, which is going to be all new to everyone where you're used to seeing radiators. We have forged carbon fiber, which is structural and also directs air over the top of the battery. And then all of our bikes come with a 24-karat gold inlay, which is really cool. We have KYB Triple S suspension, Brembo brakes, Galfer rotors, and braided lines. Everything else is proprietary to Stark, so motor, chassis, battery is all proprietary to Stark and designed together, which is how we get such great handling on the bike. Our axle blocks, instead of having double locking bolts like you would on your normal bike and having to check both sides, you simply loosen up the bolt, and then inside of here is a T20 Torx, and all you'll do is click it just like your suspension. So you match clicks and you're good to go. No more looking back and forth trying to level it up. As far as foot pegs, we have the lightest foot pegs on the market. They're a stainless steel alloy, and again, very factory style. You get a couple options when ordering the bike through dealers online. You can have an MX setup, an Enduro setup, or any mix. So we allow you to choose 18 or 19-inch rear wheel, a foot brake or hand brake. This is a setup as an MX, so we have a 19 and a hand brake on this model. We also allow you to choose a side stand or no side stand. Colorways, we have the Stark Red, a Forest Gray, and a Snow White. A really cool feature, we allow you to choose your suspension spring rate. So we go as low as 145, as high as 220. So right from the factory, the spring rate is set up for you. Just adjust your clickers and you're good to go. So let's talk about battery and power delivery, which of course everyone wants to know. So as far as battery level goes, from 100% battery down to 20%, the bike will act exactly the same, no power loss, no change of feeling. When you hit 19%, the screen will go from green to yellow, indicating that you're starting to go into low power. Until you hit 15%, the bike still has a fair amount of power. When you hit the 15% mark, you're going to feel it quite a bit. At 10%, the bike will be in full limp mode just to get you back to the trailhead or to car, wherever you might need to go. It won't matter if you're in 10 horsepower or 80, the bike will react exactly the same. As far as horsepower goes, 10 horsepower, you can tune it down to where someone who has never touched a motorcycle before can ride it. And then through that map setting, you can adjust it all the way up to 80 horsepower. So one instance, a beginner can ride it and they can hand it off, and a professional at a few clicks of a button can go win a race with it. Now, charging. We offer 220 and 110 charging with the bike. So depending on what power you have to offer, 220 will be much quicker. It'll charge the bike in about 2 hours, whereas 110 will charge the bike in about 4 to 4.5 hours. As far as battery life on the bike, it is all going to depend on terrain, but we see anywhere from 1 hour at the track with higher level riders all the way up to 3.5 hours plus of trail riding, so all going to depend on ability and terrain.
So we just got done with our first day of testing on the Stark Varg, a very unique motorcycle to ride. Adjustability that's crazy on this motorcycle. You can adjust the power delivery, you can adjust the engine braking, and then you have the normal suspension stuff. It's got really good suspension components on it. It's got really good brakes on it. The power on it is impressive. At the highest level of power, the 80 or whatever, you got power that you don't know what to do with, that it's actually really hard to control. It's kind of scary power. I don't think that there's very many people in this world that can ride it at that power around a normal motocross track. We kind of took it on the setting that I guess would be more of a modified 450 setting. I think it was 65%, and then we had it, came back around to about 60% engine braking. One thing with this bike that is kind of, it's gonna sound weird, but you kind of can't feel stuff and you can't hear stuff, but then you're hypersensitive and you can feel everything. So what I mean about that is, naturally there is no engine. So you can't feel where the engine's hooking up, where the engine has draw on it. You can't feel that kind of stuff. So you don't really know when to give it gas. You know, I was having some problems in in corners, not really sure where it's gonna come out and how it's gonna come out, because it is such a kind of smooth power delivery, but you have to kind of monitor it different. There is no clutch. Not a huge fan of that, because going through corners, you know, there's sometimes where you go through a corner and you see like, oh, there's a hole there. I wanna kind of give it a little bit of clutch and get over it. You can't really do that. All of your adjusting of power and everything is now in your throttle wrist. That makes it a lot harder to control when you're not just wide open. The bike does corner well. It does get into a corner and out of a corner really well. It's just getting used to where that throttle is and where normally you would kind of hit the clutch a little bit and kind of get out of some trouble, or hit the clutch and get up over something, or if you stuffed it into a deep berm, hitting that clutch and getting out of stuff. You gotta kind of wait for it to spool up and then go. So that's a little bit interesting on how you ride it. I know the higher I went up in power-wise, the better it got out of the corners, but then just like with a bike that has really good throttle response, it would kind of mess me up a little bit entering the corner and going through the corner smoothly. So there's a happy medium kind of with everything there. I did notice that you gotta be on the brakes a lot harder on this motorcycle than you do on a conventional gas-powered motorcycle, because you can adjust the engine braking and you can do that. What I was feeling is that like at a 60% engine braking, I felt it got down to a point to where it started to get on the gas again, it kind of freewheeled, kind of like what some of the Rekluse and some of the automatic clutches do. My style that I like to ride with is I want a compression braking, or I want that help in braking all the way down to zero. This kind of gives you that, and then I felt like at the very end it kind of freewheeled a little bit. So we didn't do a lot of adjustment on the compression braking because we only had a day of testing with this. The first battery we went through started at 99% or 100%, and it lasted for about 49 minutes. And that's 49 minutes of just run time, or the power being on. That's not 49 minutes of solid riding. I mean, we did some videos that you're seeing here. We did do some other photo shoot stuff, but 49 minutes. If we were on it and you're on that maybe 60-65% setting, I think it'd last about 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes max. So if you're doing Grand Prix or something like that, and not really what you want to hear, but doing normal moto, you can plug it into the gas-powered generator in between motos. So there is some room for improvement. Really impressed with how this bike is. The ergonomics of it were a little bit to get used to. We did take it off-road a little bit on one of the other bikes, and the chassis feels stiff. So not sure braking in wise if the chassis will break in for off-road, but it does feel a little stiff, a little bit rigid all around. Didn't do a lot of off-road riding with it. We tried to stay on the track today. Notice it being a little bit stiffer than I would like personally. Kind of the roundness of the seat was a little bit to get used to. The other bikes, nothing is that rounded. It's kind of like riding on a pipe. It's got that round feel to it. Not something we couldn't get used to. We did drag race it, as you're seeing in this video. Some of it was at max horsepower. Some of it was at that modified 450 motocross setting. It was actually easier to kind of handle at the 60-65% than it is at the 80%, because at the 80% you're just wide open, you're just trying to control it. One thing that we did notice as well is this bike is substantially heavier than what a standard 450 is. We didn't get to get it on our scale, but with calculations and what they're telling us, it's about 20 to 25 pounds heavier than what the heaviest 450 is, I believe. And you can feel that. You can feel it in cornering, you can feel it in the air. Not really sure on how to adjust to it. It's not necessarily a really bad thing, but it does feel heavy, especially in deep sand corners or in places to where you kind of wouldn't normally have that feeling on a 450, but it does feel a little bit heavy handling in certain situations. It is on the expensive side, so about 14 grand for the Alpha model, and then I think about 12 or 13 for the other model, and you can upgrade that to the Alpha model afterwards. Just a recap, this thing comes with really good components. It comes with Pirelli tires, it comes with good suspension components, good braking components. It comes with an iPhone to monitor the whole thing. If you're looking at it to where you're wanting to buy this bike because it's green, you still gotta power it with a gas generator when you're at the track, unless you have some other kind of plug-in option. So there is some good stuff. It takes some getting used to, and maybe some stuff that we don't like. The bike that we rode has the foot brake on there. It'd be really odd to have the handbrake options. For us, the foot brake option is the way to go. Not having a clutch, a little bit odd when you're riding it. I never got to ride 50cc automatic motorcycles. Now I kind of get the gist of what it's like to ride a automatic 50. You're kind of just sitting there. You don't have to shift. You don't have to do anything. You don't have that downtime. The other thing that is kind of crazy is that you hear everything. You're hearing rocks hit the wheels. You're hearing the roost. You're hearing what the tire sounds like when it hits on stuff. You don't think about it until you are, and then another bike comes up on you and you're like, oh wow, that thing's really loud. You have the perception of you're going faster than you actually are, but still, like I said, it has that power to where you can go fast. So in closing on this, we only got very minimal time on this motorcycle. When it's all said and done, we might have a couple hours on it once we charge the batteries back up and kind of go from there. But everybody that's done testing for this machine, they did a great job. I mean, coming out of the box, coming with something that is this good is pretty amazing. Yeah, does it have some faults or does it have some shortcomings? Yes, but every motorcycle does. So you got to kind of look at that and go, whether or not you're anti-electric or pro-electric, this is a good motorcycle and it's a great option to bring somebody into the sport. Gas-powered purists and your two-stroke guys and stuff like that, do we expect them to go run out and buy one of these? No, they're going to go with what they're comfortable with and what they want. It's a great option and it's something to add to our sport. Is it going to replace a gas-powered motorcycle in the near future? I don't think so. Could it do it long term? Maybe, but it's definitely one of those things to where battery technology is going to have to make big leaps and bounds forward. For everybody at Stark, you guys did a great job. Thanks for all the effort that's put forth and for bringing something brand new to our industry and something that adds to our industry. We really appreciate that. If you got a little bit more time on your hands and you want to check out some of the other stuff that we've done, go over to our YouTube channel and don't forget to subscribe. That way you stay up to date with all of our latest releases. And as always, head over to dirtbikemagazine.com for the latest off-road and moto industry news.